Hello everyone, good morning. So we've had introduction sessions yesterday and day before. We've talked about what you would be doing. I mean, we started off with what Fusion Cloud application is all about, and we discussed what you would be doing as a technical consultant in a Fusion Cloud implementation projects, right? And we'll start getting into we'll get into the application today, and we'll try to understand the navigation part in there. So because navigation or the look and feel of the Fusion Cloud application is completely different from EBS. So let me log into the Fusion Cloud application first. So this Oracle Fusion Applications Cloud. So this is basically a SaaS product. So whenever client requests for a SaaS app, whenever client requests for a new instance, Oracle would provision that Oracle would install that ERP cloud instance in one of the data centers closest to the client location, and they would share the instance URL, and they would create one standard user with IT security manager role, and that details would be passed on to the client's point of contact. And the client would create users. They might create one for the implementation team, like you and me. Maybe for one of the team lead, they might create a user and they might pass on the details to you. And you would be logging into the application by keying in the credentials, hit the sign in button, and that would take you in. And this is the first page that you see when you log into the application. So in case you have already worked for a few months in cloud application, today's session might you might already know most of the things that I'm going to explain today, but it's for the benefit of everyone that I will be explaining the navigation from scratch. Okay, please excuse if you already know the bits that I'm explaining today. So when you log in, this is the first page that you see, and what you see this particular area, this is called as a springboard, and in the springboard, and what you get to see is a home page layout. So for a home page, so when you log into any site, so the first page that you see is called as home page, right? So a home page in ERP Cloud, yes, there are some layout options available to you. And whenever you get a new instance today, if you get a new instance today, it comes with this particular layout, homepage layout, that is called as a newsfeed homepage layout. It is called as newsfeed homepage layout. And this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. I'll talk about what other layout options are available and how to change the layout in some time. But yes, what you get to see here in the middle, so this particular layout is called as a homepage layout. And you have multiple sections, many sections in here. You have a springboard here. You've got multiple sections as you scroll further. But we'll cover one by one. So if you focus on the springboard first, so you see all the modules here. You see the modules, like you see the me section, procurement, my client groups. And if you scroll to the right, you would be able to see the individual modules there. And what modules a user will be able to see when they log in, it would depend on the roles assigned to that particular user. So whom did I log in as? I have logged in as fin_IMPL user. And this particular user has all the finance related roles associated and few more additional roles as well. So what modules user gets to see here, so whether he would see the receivables or not, whether he would see the general accounting or not, that would depend on the roles associated to the users. So we'll worry about it in the security part, like how does user get to see these options is something that we'll park for a later session. But what do you see here? You see the modules, and when you click on each module, you get to see the individual work areas. And these individual work areas, these are also called as info tiles. These are also called as info tiles or work areas. There are multiple names with which people refer to them. It could be they're called as info tiles or work areas. Okay, and if you click on them, say for example, if you go into receivables and if you click on billing, that would take you into a landing page wherein it shows some of the incomplete transactions which might need users attention. We'll again come into this work area. We'll talk about it in detail. But if I click on this task ribbon, I have options that would let me create a AR invoice or a credit memo or debit memo. And I have access to the tasks that I could use to manage transactions, etc. So if I get into individual work areas, like if I get into a billing under receivables, I would be able to create and manage transactions. And if you go into AR screen, this accounts receivable screen, you would be able to create AR receipts. In an exactly similar fashion, if you go into other modules, say for example, if you go into payables, if you go into invoices, you would be able to create invoices in the payables. Same applies to general accounting also. Journals, you can do that. And similarly, if you go into other modules such as say my client group, this user doesn't have a HCM privileges, but if you log in as a different user who may be as HCM_IMPL, you would see options which would help you to hire an employee or load data into HCM cloud and all those options. One key takeaway from this one is what options you see here or the work areas you see here, the same options would be visible here as well. So this is basically called as a springboard, and the same options would be visible in the navigator as well. So you see this this burger icon, and it is called as navigator, and if you click on it, you get to see the navigation options again. So whatever options you see in this particular screen, whatever options you see in here, you see the same options here. And you could also, so there are two ways to navigate to a specific screen. So if you want to go to a billing AR invoice billing screen, how do you do it? I can do it this way. I can scroll to the right multiple times, select receivables, and I can click on billing. What else I could do? I could also click on that task, the burger icon, navigator icon. I can scroll down, expand receivables, and I could also see options in there. And sometimes you might see some additional options showing up here or some additional options showing up here. See, for example, if you see receivables here, you see only 3 menu options. But if you see the receivables under the navigator, you see one more option called funds capture. If you want to enable it, you can do that as well here. So if you click on the plus icon, that would show you if there is anything else that you want to activate or that you can enable. So you are under receivables now, right? So under receivables, if you want to enable that funds capture to be displayed, you could tick this box. If you tick this box, what will happen? That additional work area would be enabled on the springboard. So if you save and close, that would enable that particular work area. So two different ways to navigate to a particular work area. Okay. And apart from that, let's go back. And apart from that, the moment you log in, you get to see this search bar in here. And you could also use the search bar to go down to the work areas. Say, for example, if you want to say create journals or manage journals, what you could do, you could say search for manage journals or maybe type in journals. I think it's searching for something else in there. But usually you could also search for a task here. And when you search for a specific task, that would take you into the individual work areas. Okay, so but very rarely we use this search option. We use either the navigator or this option to get down to the individual work areas. And one very important point you need to understand is, so normally in EBS, and only when it is required, I refer back to EBS because some of you might be coming over from EBS. If you don't have EBS background, just ignore whatever I'm talking about EBS. In EBS, normally you create a super user responsibilities, and from that responsibility, you would be able to do the setups, and you would also be able to perform the transactions as well. right, from the same responsibility. And how do you do it? You go into that, you log in you go into that super user responsibility, and you would see an option to perform the setups and transactions from the same responsibility, right? But in here, in ERP Cloud, if you look at the work areas available in the Springboard or in the Navigator, these would only let you perform transactions. Meaning, if I go into receivables, I will only be able to create transactions or receive or create receipts for those invoices, or I would only be able to manage the revenue. But for us to be able to, or for client to be able to use AR module, it needs to be configured first, right? So the finance consultant should have done the configurations. He should have probably set up the transaction types and transaction sources and many other stuff that would be required in AR module. But you don't see any of that setup stuff here. So that setup stuff is available in a different screen called Functional Setup Manager. So if you click on this drop down, you see the setup and maintenance option. Click on that. And when you click on it, it could take you into a page called a Functional Setup Manager. Okay, so this particular page is called Functional Setup Manager, and any module you want to configure under any offering, so be it HCM, financials, or Fusion Accounting Hub, or core HR related work areas like maybe the workforce management or workforce development or deployment. So any module you want to implement or any offering you want to configure, say for example, if you are implementing financials, you select financials, and if you want to configure, so the functional consultant would come here, select financials, and he would do the setups here. Okay, so he would, if he has to probably configure GL module, he would go into GL functional area here. That would show up the tasks that he needs to perform. These are the functional configuration related tasks. And similarly, if he scrolls down, he would be able to see receivable related tasks in there that he needs to configure. He would set them up here. So the configurations or the functional setups would be done from this particular screen. This is a single user interface that Oracle provides. It is called as a functional setup manager. It is called as functional setup manager. And people refer to it with a shortcut. They call it as FSM. Okay, we have a dedicated session to talk about FSM because there are a lot of options that you need to understand here. Let's go back. So in the application, if you want to create transactions, you could go to work areas from here or from here. And if you want to perform the setups, or if you want to see what has been configured by the functional consultant, you have to go into the setup and maintenance. And then you've got few options available here. So this is a home page. Obviously, it would let you come back to the home page from whatever screen you are in. So if you go into billing, and then if you click on home page, it would bring you back into the landing page. As simple as that. And then if you've got this star mark, right? So this star mark, it helps you quite a bit when it comes to navigating within the application. So it's not, you might have probably realized it by now that the pages that you're seeing here, these are not basically the forms that you used to see in EBS. These are basically the pages built using Oracle Jet framework. And it is not easy to navigate around within the application using shortcuts. In EBS, you used to use all sort of shortcuts, right? Alt F VW, or if you want to submit a request, you might use Alt F VR. So those are not fresh on top of my mind, because the last time I used EBS application is I believe 7 years ago. So you have those shortcuts that you could use to navigate around in the application quickly in EBS. But that is not available in ERP Cloud. And that is where this particular option would help you. Say, for example, if you want to switch back and forth between the screens, this would help you. So this would have two options. Both options would be quite handy for you. You have favorite section and you have recent items as well. The favorite items, the way it works is, it's like bookmarking a page. So if you go into billing, so if I'm a receivables user and say, I have to get into the billing screen, say maybe 10 or 15 times in a day, what I could do, and maybe I have to create invoices multiple times in a day. What I could do is I could get into that page and I can add it to the favorites. I can get into this page and I can add it to the favorites there. Give it a name, and you could also create a folder if you want, and you could assign it. Save and close. And once you do that, what will happen if you go back into home page? It's not letting me come out of this. Let's cancel this. Go back into home page. And if I want to, so but the next time, once I bookmark it, mark it as favorites, the next time I log in, I don't even, but when I log in, I'll be in this screen initially. I don't have to go into receivables and billing and click on that create transactions. I could just click on this and click on create transaction. That would launch the create transaction page for me. So this would save tons of time, especially if you are an end user. And another option that you see in there, which is the recent items, that would also help you quite a bit. So normally when you start doing something in the application, say for example you're trying to create transaction, and when you are midway, you realize that you forgot to set up a transaction type. What you might want to do is you would go into the setup and maintenance, go to manage transaction type, set it up, and then you want to go back to the previous screen that you are using. And that is where this recent items will help you. So if you go to recent items, this would show you what all pages you have navigated to. So this would help you to easily switch back and forth between the screens. Or if you want to quickly go back to what you were doing earlier, this would help you. Okay. And you've got this flag or sort of a watch list. It's not particularly helpful. We don't use it quite a bit. But what that shows you is it highlights whatever needs your attention. So if you go into watch list, for each and every section, you would see that if there is some, say for example, if you look at the payment files, there are 3 files which are waiting for printing. And if you look at PPR, there is one that requires my attention. And there are 25 unapplied receipts. So if you want to just quickly scroll through the modules and see what is it that needs your attention, you could click on this. Okay. And you have the notifications. This is quite important. So if there are any transactions pending for your approval, so remember I've shown you that you could write the approval rules in a transaction console, right? So when you do that, if fin_IMPL user is probably used as an approver in one of the approval process, maybe invoice or journal, and if a journal is submitted for approval, that would show up here. The journal would show up here, and I would also be able to see approve or reject buttons. I can look at the details and I can take an action there. So this is like the notifications would display a list of transactions that are pending for your approval. And these notifications could be for your information kind of notifications or for your action kind of notifications. And you have the same stuff appearing here as well under the things to finish section. So whatever appears here, the same information appears here as well. And now if you go into this, so the first question is someone might ask you, what application what version of the application are you learning? So if you click on this about this application, we are currently using, the application that we are using, it is a release 13. It is a release 13. And Oracle follows a quarterly release process for ERP Cloud. Only for ERP and HCM Cloud or say Fusion Cloud. For Fusion Cloud application, for Oracle Cloud application, Oracle follows a quarterly release policy. What that means is, how many quarters you normally have in a year? You have a quarter 1. You have 4 quarters, right? Every quarter, Oracle releases a new version. So we are in 2021 year, and we are in which quarter now? It's June. We are in 2nd quarter. So there would be 4 versions released in 2021, and the first version that would be released in 2021 would be called as 2021. Yeah, it would be called as 21A. Only the first two letters or the last two letters of the year would be considered. And the version that gets released in second quarter would be called as 21B. Third quarter version would be called as 21C. And fourth, the version that would be released in fourth quarter of 2021 would be called as 21D. And after that, it would be 22A, and it goes on like that. So every quarter, you get a new version, and the naming convention of that version would be the last two digits of a year, followed by the quarter in which that particular version is released. What quarter are we in now? What year are we in now? 2021. So you see 21. And what version are you seeing? It's B. That's because we are in a second quarter. And probably in a month's time, this would be upgraded to 21C automatically. And one point I want to highlight here is, like in EBS, clients could choose to stay back in the same version that they are using, right? So when Oracle released, when clients were using 11A earlier in EBS, and when Oracle released R12, many clients have not moved from 11A to R12 for at least the initial 3-4 years, because they wanted R12 instance to, all the bugs in the R12 release to be fixed, and only then they migrated from 11A to R12, right? So you don't have that sort of flexibility in ERP Cloud. You cannot say that I'm happy with a 21B version and I want to stay here for, say, 6 months or 1 year. Oracle would not let you do that. Oracle would automatically upgrade your instance. And before it upgrades your instance, you would receive a notification. Like if there is any downtime involved, they would also let you know. And if a downtime is required, they would also ask you to pick up a time slot at which you want your application to be upgraded. You could pick and choose a time slot. That's a maximum you can do. And if you have any major release in the offing, maybe, so if clients said, if Oracle said that they want to upgrade this version to 21C next week, but you have a rollout next week, you have a wave going live next week, so you could request Oracle to postpone it by a week, but definitely not more than that, and that too only with a good justification. You cannot say that I'll sit in 21B forever. That's not possible. Okay, so that's one point that you guys need to be aware of. And you click on the drop down, you've got few options here. Most of it will not help you in any way. So you click on applications help, it would take you to a documentation page. And under administration, you have got few options here, like you could, so this edit this edit pages and edit global page template. So these would help you when you have to do some customizations of the screens. So we'll talk about them in the sandbox session. Okay, the manage configurations as well. And you've got this setup and maintenance option, which would let you navigate into FSM screen. And you've got this highlight flex fields option. And this would help you to highlight the flex fields that are there on a particular page. In some cases, the number of flex fields that you have on a page would be quite high, especially if you're hiring a person. If you go into third or fourth page, you would have around 10 flex fields in that. And if you find it difficult to figure out where the flex fields are, or if you want to understand whether it is a DFF or a KFF, that's when this highlight flex fields option will help you. Okay, we'll see. Well, I'll show you this when we do the flex fields module. Just remind me at that point. And under personalization, you have set preferences option, which would help you to do things such as setting up a date format or a time format as per your preference. And you could also reset your password if you want. Okay. And if you scroll down further, you have things to finish section, and this would exactly be the same. It would exactly be the same thing that you see here. The same notifications would appear here. And if you scroll down, you have a news and announcement section. So this would, Oracle is just giving a provision for the clients to announce something to the, if clients wants to publish some news or announcements to the employees, they could use this particular section to do it. And to be frank, I haven't seen a single client using this particular section so far, because the clients they already have n number of other revenues to communicate messages with the employees. They don't necessarily come into ERP cloud and publish something here. But yes, if required, you could do that. You could publish something in here so that the users who log into the application gets to see that. Okay, you can scroll down, and you have an analytics section here. So this analytics section, it would, let me just refresh this to load the content. So this analytics section, so I've clicked on it. I think it's refreshing the content. It would take a minute or so to load in the infolets. So these are called infolets. Don't confuse them with info tiles. So what you see here at the top, these are called info tiles because they look like tiles, and you could call them as work areas. And if you scroll down further, you could see the infolets here. Infolets are like, you can think of it as a mini bytes of information, and these infolets would help you get a good understanding of how your module is particularly doing. So if I am a GL user, so whatever I'm explaining today, you have to look at those points from not from a developer standpoint, because end of the day, application is supposed to be used by end users, right? So the features that you see in the application would be, all of them would be trying to make the life of user easy or as comfortable as possible. So if I am a GL user, I could just scroll down, come into this GL infolet section. If I just refresh it, it would pull the information from GL module, and it would let me know what all has been, or what is going on in that GL module. So you could see the details in there. Yeah, you could see the graphs are coming up. So I could see the balance sheet here. I could see the debt to equity ratio. And if I scroll up, I could also see if there are any open subledgers, all closed. I can also see which one is open and for how long it has been open. Okay, so there are no intercompany transactions. So these snippets of information might not make sense to you or me as a developer, but this would help users quite a bit. And especially if you scroll to the right, you could also pick and choose what infolets you want to see in here. And since we have logged in as fin_IMPL user, you're seeing only that information. Let me just do one thing. Let me sign out as fin_IMPL user and sign in as a different user, so that I could talk about HCM options as well. Okay. Let me log in as Casey.Brown, and this user is a system administrator. And if you scroll down, you would see a lot many options than what you have seen as a fin_IMPL user. So if you scroll down here, you get to see the general ledger infolets. You could see only those infolets here. Let me do one thing. Let me sign out and sign in as. So the password would remain same. Only thing you need to do is you have to change the username. And there are some fictional users that you could use who has those roles. Casey Brown is a system administrator. You could use fin_IMPL or HCM_IMPL. Those are the standard implementation users. But HCM_IMPL, what we could do was we could reset the password of HCM_IMPL user otherwise to this. I would log in as system administrator, go in there and go to tools, go to security console. Reset the password of HCM_IMPL user, search for it. Could manually change the password. Let me get the password of, let me edit this, change it to the password that I've shared yesterday. Reset the password. Done. And I would just log out and log in as either HCM_IMPL, or you could, for finance related roles, you could use two users. So you could use a Casey Brown. This guy is a system administrator. You don't have to create your own users, but if you want, you can do that. System administrator. And if you want to explore finance related concepts, you could log in as fin_IMPL. If you want to explore HCM related concepts, you could use HCM_IMPL. If the the password would remain same for all the users, the same one that I've shared in the onboarding email. And once in a while, the password gets updated. Whenever it gets updated, I would update the password in that Google Drive link. If you look at the onboarding email, there is a Google Drive link that I've given, which would point to the sheet where I have captured these instance details along with the passwords. So whenever password changes, I would update the password there. So if password is not working when you try to log in, you refer to that Google Drive link, pick up the new password from there and try to save it or log in as that user, or log in with that password. And if a HCM_IMPL is not working, you could log in as Curtis.Feety. This particular user is a HR specialist. Okay, so we can try to log in as Curtis Feety, or we could use HCM_IMPL as well. So depending on as what user you log in, the options you get to see changes, and it makes sense as well, right? Because it's controlled with the help of roles. The security in ERP cloud, and it's controlled with the help of roles. It's a role-based access control that you have. So if I log in as a HCM specialist, you could see that I'm seeing HCM infolettes here. Okay. I think it's loading in the infolettes. Yeah, you could see this banner here at the top. So this banner, you would typically see that banner whenever you are in a sandbox mode. I'll talk about what a sandbox is and how you can use it to change the look and feel of the application in a moment. I would show you how to change the homepage layout, and I would show you how to do it with a sandbox. But we'll not get into details of the sandbox in today's session. We have a different session wherein we talk about user interface customizations in detail. So if you see here, I'm logged in. I've logged in as Curtis Feety, who is a HR specialist. And if you see here, if I go into my client groups, I would see options, all the options related to HR. So I could hire an employee, and if I want to say load data into HCM cloud or extract data from HCM cloud, I could go into data exchange. And if I go into data exchange, I get to see the options related to the data load into HCM cloud or data extraction from HCM cloud. So depending on with what user you log in, the options that you see in the application changes. Okay, let's log out as HR specialist. Confirm and log in as a different user. So we would log in as Casey Brown. As a system administrator. And yeah, what else we have to discuss? So you are seeing this homepage layout, right? So this homepage layout that you're seeing on screen, it's called as a newsfeed homepage layout. It is called as a newsfeed homepage layout. But apart from that, you've got two more layout options available. You have a layout option called banner layout, and you have another old option called a panel layout. So this is the latest one, and this is what application will be rolled out with if clients get a new ERP cloud instance. But sometimes clients do ask us to make some changes to the application look and feel. Maybe they ask us to change the logo, or they might ask us to change the layout also. One particular reason which I hear from clients when they ask me to change the layout is, I would ask them why. They say that the number of mouse clicks to get down to the work areas in newsfeed homepage layout is quite high. Say, for example, if I have to submit an ESS job, if I have to go to schedule process screen, see how many mouse clicks are required. I have to click on this, 3, 4, click on tools, and then click on schedule process here. So 5 mouse clicks are required for me to be able to just go to a schedule process screen. So newsfeed homepage layout, yeah, some people like it and some people hate it. So clients might ask you to make the change, or might ask you to change the homepage layout to something different as well. And if they ask you to change it to change the layout of the homepage, what you could do is you could create a sandbox, pick up a different theme and a different layout, and you could publish that sandbox. We'll quickly do it. We'll not get into the details of the sandbox in this session, but I'll just show you how to use it to change the layout of the application. And the reason I want to do this is I want to show you how a different page layout appears. Of course, I have screenshots in the PPT. So if you see here, this is how the newsfeed homepage layout looks like. This is what you're seeing on screen, right? Of course, the color combination might be different, but this is what you see. This is a newsfeed homepage layout. If you change it to a banner layout, it would look like this. You see the same information available, but you have tabs in here for each and every module, but you don't see the tabs. Instead, you get to see what do you normally have on a banner. You have everything in a single page, right? Exactly similar to that, you have all the work areas appearing in a single page. So let's see how to quickly create a sandbox and change the layout. Let's create a sandbox. Let's call it as UG1 SV. And I want to just change the appearance of the application. And I'm creating a sandbox. I would create and enter into it. And once you are in a sandbox mode, you would notice that a banner would appear at the top, indicating that you are in a sandbox mode. Okay, you could see the banner appearing there. And this indicates that you are in a sandbox mode. It shows you what sandbox you are in and what mode you are in. And once you are in a sandbox mode, you can go back and you could go back into the configuration option. And under configuration option, if you go into appearance, you would now have an option to change the layout here. So you see this drop down now, right? So you're seeing this drop down because you are in a sandbox mode already. So let me show you. Let me do it this way. Let me exit the sandbox. I should have probably done it that way. Let's try to go into the appearance page. So let's try to go into appearance page. And that would show you what theme is applied in the application now. So you could see that it's a Vision default theme that has been applied in the application. And I don't get to see options to change the template or a home page layout. And it also tells you what you could do to do that. To change the appearance of the application, you must first activate a sandbox that supports appearance. And that is what we exactly did. And there is a quick navigation option also to go to sandbox pages. So you could go to sandbox pages, sandboxes page, and you already created a sandbox. You don't need to create another one. All you have to do is enter the sandbox mode. Just think of it as a configuration or a setting that you need to enable, which would let you make changes to the application. So now you go back. And you would be able to change the theme or a look and feel now. So you go into appearance. You could see that you could see other themes available in the application. You could pick them up. You can also update the logo if that is the only thing that needs to be changed. If clients want to see their own logo there, you could update the logo, and you could change few more bits as well. Or you could change the theme completely if you want. Say, for example, you could probably change it to a default theme. And if you change to default theme, or maybe change it to aquamarine, some different theme, and you would see all the properties related to the theme here. We'll not get into this in detail. We will talk about these options in the UI customization session. This is the one that I want to focus you. I want your focus here. You have a layout options, and the default homepage layout is newsfeed. You've got two more options in there. You could change it to a banner, and you could apply that. It would ask you to save the theme. You could probably say UG1 Aqua theme. Click OK. You could see that application has been reloaded now, and you go back into home page. And you see the application look and feel has changed completely now. Okay, yeah, you could have chosen options in such a way that you could have made this screen look much better if you have probably chosen the appropriate options in that theme. But yeah, my intention is to show you how to change the layout from a newsfeed homepage layout into a banner layout. And you could see these icons. All the icons or all the navigation options are appearing here. And if I have to go into schedule process screen, all I have to do is scroll down. I would be able to see tools in there. I can click on that, and I can just click on schedule process here. Well, I'm not able to find schedule process here, but yeah, you could see that all the options appear on the home page itself because I changed it to a banner layout. And yeah, if you change it to panel, it looks in a different way. The information doesn't change, or what information gets displayed in the page doesn't change, but the way it is displayed changes. So you see this dotted layout here in the banner. If you go into the other dots, you would see the infolets getting populated there. So if you go into the second dot, the first set of infolets would be populated, and they would display the information there. That takes a bit of time. That's okay. Let's go back. Yeah, this is how you could change the theme of the application, or maybe the news of the homepage layout if clients doesn't like the newsfeed homepage layout. Yeah, if you go into the dotted layout, if you go into these dots, those individual infolets would be loaded. So first the finance infolets are getting loaded now. If you go into the second one, a different application infolets get loaded as you move into the application. Could go back into home page, and that would display the banner layout. And go back into the first tab. Okay, so this is how you could change the look and feel of the application. And usually icon appears here, the me section appears here, and other stuff as well. And I can leave the sandbox now. So whatever change you have done, like creating the new theme, all of it is captured in this particular sandbox now. And until you publish the sandbox, this change would not be reflected in the application for others. So whatever change you have done, so that is just captured in this sandbox. I would just leave the sandbox. I will not publish it because we will do it in a UI customization session, but not in this one. But this is how you could change the layout from a newsfeed homepage layout to a banner layout in case clients want you to do that. Okay, so this is how it looks like. And let's go back to the PPT now and see if we have covered everything. So yes, we've talked about the default homepage layout. We've talked about the options available in homepage layout, like the application work areas and other sections. We've talked about other layout options available. And this is how the homepage layout looks like, the newsfeed homepage layout. And this is how the banner layout looks like. And yeah, that's okay. You have the same options in the other layouts as well. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions in what we covered today or so far?
So Prasad, we don't have to create any theme, manually, right? So whatever is there, by default, we have to just customize it.
Correct. Yes, you would pick up a theme that you want to use, and you can make changes to it. we just picked up a theme, and I didn't change any of the properties, right? Like you could pick up a theme, change the logo. You could also control how you want the icons to appear and all that stuff. But you don't define you don't create your theme from scratch. Yeah.
Regarding infolets, I mean, can we create any new infolet or edit any existing infolet?
Yeah, you could create a new infolets. In OTBI, you have an option to create. Yeah, you have an option to create an OTBI report, and you could expose it as an infolet here. You could expose it as an infolet here, and you could also change the way existing infolets work, because these infolets, yeah, you could see the standard ones. You can control what do you want to see and what you don't want to see. You could control that, and you could also define your own infolets. You have to, I think probably build an OTBA report, and then you could define or expose them here to the clients.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So you could see here. So these are, yeah, you could also get multiple views in there. Okay, so these are nothing but OTBA reports built in the backend. Any other questions, guys?
Prasad, are you going to cover the sandbox options also in this training?
Correct, but yeah, we would cover that, but not today or tomorrow. But we would do it at the end of the session. Yeah, probably when we are able to close the session, that would be the last topic that we talk about. I would show you how to make changes to the user interface, the look and feel of the application, as well as I'll also show you how to make the page level changes also using sandboxes.
Thanks, Prasad.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Actually, I just wanted to know, like you said, per year there will be four quarter releases, right? What is that changes for every quarter release? Like, is it like look and feel or something else?
It depends. Usually, we don't have a definitive answer for that, because you're asking me what Oracle is going to do in the next release. So sometimes you see the UI changes, sometimes the user interface changes, but with every time Oracle releases a new version, it also attaches a release notes in there, which would mention what are the changes that it has done in that particular version. So changes could be to the user interface, changes could be done in the FPDA template, or changes could be done within the screens as well. So it all depends on what Oracle has done in that particular quarter, or maybe the product development team has done in that particular quarter. So it could be changes to user interface, it could be addition of new features, it could be changes to the tables, it could be changes to FPDA sheets and all that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Prasad.
Hi.
If a particular user wants only reports and analytics page, so is it possible to configure only that page? I mean, that user can only see that page.
Only this particular page. Yeah, you can do that. When you create a new user, when we do the security, we will do that. We would create a new user, and we would give him only the bare minimum access. So what options user get to see here? It would depend on the roles assigned to the user, right? So you could control what user can see. So what you would do is, if you want to give user only access to this reports and analytics work area, you would probably assign him only the BA developer role, or maybe a BA author role, or maybe a BA viewer role. So depending on that user will only get access to reports and analytics work area. Even if you try to create a user, and if you assign a role like employee, which is an abstract role, and that role also would give user access to reports and analytics. But yes, you have that fine-grained control. You could control what screens user should be able to see when they log in. First of all, you could control what modules they will be able to see. This would be controlled by the job roles assigned to the user. And within that particular job role also, if you're not happy with the standard options that are appearing in there, you could make changes to it. Or if you could also create your own custom job role, give access of only this particular screen to that in that job role, and assign that to the user. All of it is possible. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, guys, from anyone else? Okay, fine. I could see a question in the chat. Can we do it for a specific user or a site level? I'm not particularly sure. In what context you ask this question, Nivriti? Is it the customizations that I've shown you, or the layout changes?
The sandbox appearance
Maybe,
change. Yeah.
So that look and feel, so that there are two pages. There are two sort of changes that you could do. You could change the look and feel of the application, and if that is the case, if you publish it, it gets reflected for everyone. But if you make a change within the pages, you could control who can see that change. But normally when you change the user interface, you publish it and you make it applicable for everyone. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thanks for your time. We'll meet again tomorrow and we'll pick it up from here. Tomorrow also we'll be talking about a few more navigation aspects in ERP Cloud, and then we move on to other core concepts from day after tomorrow. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.